Hi, how are you? Thank you for your email this morning. Glad to see you all hooked up and with us. Jeffrey, who I spoke to last week over in Switzerland, I believe. Pleasure speaking to you, Jeffrey. And also Svetlana, who came to one of our offices and we met, and a real pleasure speaking with you. I hope everything works out for you. If there's anything else you need, do feel free to get in touch. I've got my fingers crossed for you, and wishing you all the best for your situation, and keep me updated on that, and it will be a pleasure to help even further. So today we will just go over what we're doing as a company to look after everybody in terms of COVID-19 and our return to work. We're going to look at a few aspects of our business, the people, our premises, what we're doing with valuations, with viewings, property management, and some other subjects as well. It should be pretty straightforward, I hope. It's not an in-depth technical piece today. It's really informative, just to let you know what we're doing, so that if you do want to come to our offices, you are very welcome. We don't want to stop doing that. Obviously, we are minimising face-to-face contact. However, if you do want to come to our offices, we will have procedures in place where we can do this in a safe environment. So yeah, really, it's to minimise the risk of coronavirus making a resurgence, and of course a further lockdown period, which would be pretty difficult for businesses, let alone us estate agents. So let's begin. I'm going to share a screen with you so you can follow what I'm doing. And like I said before, if you want to ask anything or get in touch, you are very, very welcome. And of course, you will have all the details of how to do that throughout the webinar. Now, hopefully you can all still see my screen. There it is. Sorry, apologies. Live webinars, eh? Okay. So information-wise, you can see everything you need to on the James Anderson website in further detail regarding our COVID-19 measurements that we're taking. And obviously there's the NHS website and the government website that are providing constant and regular updates. So let's begin with people. Of course, we want to have healthy staff. We have done a return to work health assessment with all of our staff on a sort of one-to-one basis, and we can confirm that currently all our staff are very healthy and well, which is great news. Each day we are going to be assessing this as part of the morning meeting process with the team. This is going to be something that is done on a daily basis. If anybody is feeling ill in any way whatsoever, they are not to come to the office. There are strict instructions to call in and discuss their symptoms in the first case. What we've also done with our team is started a shift pattern so that we can have nearly everybody back to work and getting into the swing of things and working for you, but in a safe way. We have shifts that begin at 9 AM and finish at 3 PM for our negotiators. The second shift obviously begins at 3 and finishes at 9 PM. And we've done this so that A, everybody can come back to work, but B, we can maintain our promise that we are open until 9 o'clock should you need us. And actually that's worked really well since we've incorporated that, because it gives people time to come and see us, talk to us, call us when they need us, rather than during sort of regular office hours. Your managers, your branch managers, will be in the offices from 9 AM until 6:30 PM every day. And weekends, again, we are open as usual. If you want to get hold of your negotiators, if your property's on the market, obviously be aware that they are there on a shift pattern. But of course, everybody on the team knows what each other's doing, and they will have notes on everything. So if you're calling and you speak to a different member of the team, don't worry, they've got access to all the information. So our premises, our offices, we have prepared those. There's 2-meter distancing in place with all the staff, which means we've got fewer desks in some offices, and we've had to move a little bit of furniture around. Some of them do look a little bit more sparse, so apologies. But yeah, it's something that we do need to do. When you come into our offices, you will see that there is markings, there's tape, very visible tape on the floor that designates 2-meter spacings to keep everybody safe. We're going to limit the number of people coming to our offices as well. So before you come in, do please take your time, look through the glass doors and just see who's already in there. There are signs on the doors that are quite visible. So hopefully that's a reminder to just stop before you enter. In some cases, it will be unlikely, but you might just have to wait outside for a minute, a bit like when you go shopping, before you can come in due to numbers. Some branches, we may install some plastic screens. This hasn't been confirmed yet, but this is going to be a decision made by the individual offices, looking at location, footfall, the actual business model. But what we have done is designated specific desks and areas that can be used to talk to our customers. These are going to be cleaned after every visit, of course, by people coming to us, so that it's a safe environment. And if you've been to our offices or sort of been past, this is very clear as you look through the window. Again, offices have been thoroughly cleaned. That includes kitchens, staff rooms, fridges, microwaves, you name it. It's all been cleaned, ready to go to keep everybody safe. We have got a great supply of hand gel, antibacterial wipes. We've got sprays and soaps, and this is all available on each desk where the staff are in the offices. It's available on the front desks near the doors for our visitors coming into the office for their use. So I hope that we've got all the bases covered. In addition to this, we've implemented a daily cleaning routine in the offices. Every couple of hours, things like desks, screens, keyboards are cleaned, even things like door handles and drawers, photocopy buttons, things like that are all going to be cleaned. Sometimes you may come to the office and the front door might be locked. We may do this, obviously, where we recognise that an additional person in the office would breach a 2-meter rule. So if that is the case, please don't take offence. It's just for everybody's safety. Of course, this is an ongoing process, and it's going to be monitored pretty much on a daily basis. Our office managers will be leading this with their teams and ensuring that everything is done the right way. This even comes down to, you know, staggering lunch breaks and things like that, so that staff areas are not overpopulated. So valuations and market appraisals, and coming to see properties in order to get them on the market and find your tenant. Estate agency obviously is based around people and those interactions that we all have together. It's not just, you know, us as agents and you as landlords, it's tenants and also contractors as well. And naturally, it is a face-to-face industry, and that's kind of what we thrive on. So some of this is a bit alien to us. However, what we are doing is continuing to offer our digital valuation tool and also viewing options. And this will enable us to carry out your instructions as best possible, but we will be doing that in a virtual way wherever we need to. Of course, we can't avoid face-to-face meetings. When this is required, we will use the health assessment form that we have to assess the risk associated with every individual visit and confirm that we've also carried out an assessment of our team member who is visiting you. So please remember, it is a two-way process. So please disclose any symptoms, you know, when we ask you, in the same way that we will make sure that anyone we send to your property is free of such symptoms. Obviously, this is designed just for reassurance for all parties involved. And again, our staff have been advised never to attend a valuation if they're feeling unwell. When we come to a property in these instances, unfortunately and respectfully, we will have to avoid handshaking and physical contact. We will keep a 2-meter distance. We will be wearing face masks and protective gloves until we are advised by the government that this is no longer necessary. Any documentation that we need to show you, we will do via digital resources rather than leaving paper documents at your property. Of course, everything will be followed up in an email to you, okay? When our managers come and see you, they will explain further things like the viewing process and items like that. If you're living at the property, this is vitally important so you fully understand how that will take place. When we get back to our cars and vehicles, we will dispose of those gloves, and of course we've got sanitizing hand gel to wash our hands, and we'll wipe down all our equipment. I hope that goes without saying, really. Once the team are back at the office, they've been told that they've got to wash their hands straight away before anything else happens. At the end of the day, the vehicles are wiped down, steering wheels, gear knobs, etc., to try and ensure further that there's a safe environment wherever we go. Of course, when we receive your instruction, all our legal obligations are still in place. We can still fulfill these, but like we said, these might be through electronic documents rather than signed documents in the office. If we do need to do signatures in the office, of course, we will make an appointment with you and we'll ensure that that environment is safe for everybody. Items like EPCs and things like that, they can all be carried out with your permission, of course, or the tenant's permission. So there's no need to worry on that front. Viewings. A bit like our valuations, we have been carrying out virtual viewings. We have got some smashing videos of the vast majority of our properties that are on the market at the moment that allows the tenants, potential tenants, to see the property in full. And these videos are really, really good. I was extremely impressed when I saw these. And these have been working already. And I'm very pleased to say we have done a really good number of deals based on video viewings. So it's a very encouraging situation. The way this is going to work is that in the first instance, each potential tenant will need to see the virtual video and do the virtual viewing. From there, it might be that they're happy to put their interest forward without a physical viewing. However, we will not go ahead with a physical viewing unless they've seen the video. These video viewings, we're going to treat those like any other viewing in terms of, talking to you and letting you know what's happening with your property and how that viewing went, and whether or not there's interest, or if there's anything you can do that might help facilitate interest coming forward. Of course, we will always carry out a health check on all our viewers intending to visit the property, and we will insist that each viewer wears protective equipment, some form of face covering, and also gloves. When we're on the viewing, we're not going to allow any more than 2 people at one time to be inside the property. And where possible, we would ask that the occupant, whether that is the owner or the tenant, does vacate and takes their family with them for the duration of the appointment. This should last hopefully no more than about 15 minutes. So I hope that will be minimum disruption to everybody. Where the property is occupied, we will be carrying out a check on the health of the occupier and all those in residence before going ahead with an appointment. Of course, we won't be doing any handshaking on viewings. We will be keeping a 2-meter distance, and we will be wearing masks and protective gloves, and we will not be using paper documents. It will be us as agents that will open any doors for tenants, door handles, drawers, maybe kitchen cupboards. We will be doing that rather than the actual viewer. Of course, after each viewing, when we return to the car, the process is to take your gloves off, sanitize your hands, back to the office, clean your hands again as soon as you walk in. Where we're using keys, we will be wiping those down as we take them out of the key cabinet, as we return from that appointment and they go back in the key cabinet, they will be cleaned again. In terms of travel, we will not be allowing anybody to travel in our vehicles. and we will insist that all viewers meet at the property. Now, a couple of more sort of compliance bits here for you. AML, this is anti-money laundering, and right to rent. Obviously, these are legal obligations that we need to stick to. We may be required in some cases to obviously further confirm your identity, and in some cases this may be before we commence business. We've got our own anti-money laundering platform where we can do an electronic search if that's the only check that we require. If we do not need to take the actual documents, the requirement is that we complete it where we can see the individual and document at the same time. So that may mean that you need to have your driver's license, passport with you, and you might actually have to come to the office where we actually have to take the documents and see the physical documents. In all cases, we will be wearing protective gloves when handling those documents. If you have certified copies, we may ask you to send these over as further evidence of your identity. Of course, if you need to come to the branch, you will need to complete a health assessment with our team over the phone or on email before you come to the office. Any face-to-face meetings will be done at a 2-meter distancing, and also you'll be at a designated desk for this very reason in our offices. So far, HMRC haven't provided any provision in the case where we cannot do any of what we've mentioned, any of these processes due to health reasons. Therefore, what we will do, where the previous ideas are impossible, is have a FaceTime or a Zoom meeting to see both the individual and the document. If that is the situation, those people will be asked to scan across documents where we can certify the method and log a reason for doing so. In some cases, at a later date, we may need to do a face-to-face meeting to see these documents and the person in the physical sense. In the meantime, we will just need to keep a record of that. Right to rent. Now, this does apply to England only. So if you do have properties elsewhere that you rent to tenants, then you would need to just check that information. It may be different in Wales, it may be different in Scotland. The Home Office have said that right to rent checks need to go ahead as per usual prior to any tenancy commencing. We can do FaceTime inspections of documents. That is permitted by HMRC. Then it's followed by an email, and a full inspection of the individual and the document really needs to take place within 8 weeks of any restrictions being lifted. So obviously we will keep a very close record of any situations like this, and we will be sure to follow them up. If you do rent your property on a let-only basis and you look after all of this yourself, do make sure that you're fully up to speed with the right to rent regulations. Of course, if we need to see a tenant in the office, social distancing will be employed. So property management, those of you where we look after your property and queries and questions from the tenant, the health of your property and any maintenance, things like interim inspections that are carried out. In many cases, this may not be possible to do it in the physical sense. So we will use video technology such as FaceTime or Zoom to achieve what we want to. We'll make clear notes of what we've seen, and we will report back to you following that inspection. You'll be sent the report, and your property manager will follow up to discuss anything that needs attention. Obviously, going into properties, we will ensure the safety of our tenants by doing the necessary health checks, and in the same way, we will do that with our contractors. Gas safeties, EPCs, EICRs all still need to go ahead, but of course, all these engineers are permitted as long as it's in accordance with Public Health England. Contractors can visit properties, of course, to carry out repairs. Again, it's the same basis. We'll carry out a health assessment, and they will go in under Public Health England guidance. So checkouts at the end of the tenancy, where we can't do a traditional method, i.e. attending the property, going around the property, there is facility to do a virtual checkout. Of course, there'll be reference to the check-in and the original inventory report, and anything that is deemed an item of note will be highlighted. Of course, before we do that, we will get your consent and the consent of tenants to use this method. Where we can do traditional checkouts and actually attend the property, once again, health assessments will be carried out on the inventory clerk. Protective gloves, face masks will be worn. All equipment will be wiped down once again. Where we have keys, again, they will be wiped down and sanitized before being handed over and returned to our offices. Obviously, we cannot take cash or checks. We generally don't do that anyway, but that's just to reiterate that. We won't be accepting cash or checks in the office. And something that we will be employing is a new tenancy safety period. And this is a 3-day period between the previous tenant vacating and the new tenant starting. The reason for this is just based on the research that many of us are already aware of, that coronavirus is still detectable on surfaces for up to 72 hours. So we only see it as a very practical and common sense measure to give a 3-day period between tenancies, and I hope that you agree. So like I said, today's been a slightly shorter webinar, but I hope it just shows what we're doing to safeguard everybody. We've actually gone to some quite strong measures. I know not every business is the same, but we want to absolutely do our best to make sure that everything we do is safe and done in the right way. Feel free to come to our branches, like we said. If you are, do just give us a call and let us know that you're coming before you arrive. That way we can ensure that everything has been done safely. Everything that we've mentioned today is under review. We're looking at it almost daily and certainly weekly to make sure that everything's okay. If anything, I hope that sanctions will improve and we can have a slightly more relaxed way of working in terms of social distancing, but we're not the judge of that. The government's the judge of that. So unfortunately, we will have to follow their guidance in that case. Before we finish, I really just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for your business. It's greatly appreciated. It really is. I know some of you have been with us for a long time. Some of you may have just started tenancies with us, but I hope we've been able to impress you and satisfy you along the way. Something that I've seen since we've been back in the offices, and I've seen my members of staff, is smiles on their faces and how happy everybody is to be back in the offices. And you know what? It's a strange feeling, but there's a sense of hope and that there are good things coming. There's definitely a market there. If you could see the number of leads that we have, people inquiring about properties, we are doing deals, and this video viewing arrangement is working really well. And from my perspective, it's great to be embracing new technology and hopefully being innovative in some ways in our processes, and being ahead of the game and ahead of our competitors in some cases. And getting to communicate with you, like I said, I always thank those that have been in contact with me, because in my role as lettings director, I don't really get to speak to everybody on a daily basis in terms of landlords. And perhaps, there are many clients of ours, of mine, who I've known over the years, and I don't get to speak to them as much as I used to. And that's just simply because as a negotiator, as a branch manager, that's a day-to-day, and it's something that I actually miss. So I really enjoy it when I do get to speak to you. So thank you very much. Like I said, all our team are happy to be back. We want to do business. They're happy to be there, and they're happy to be working for you. And do you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy that I've got this team that we have, and I have full confidence in them that they can deliver what we need in terms of safety but also a great service to you. So thank you very much. I need to now go to the offices and make sure that all is well and steer the ship. So I will love you and leave you, but thank you once again for joining me. And I hope to see you in a week's time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, look after each other. See you later. Bye-bye.